teacher. And
Oh, is that right?
my uncle was a
Whenever anyone.
chemistry researcher,
He was
like
on-
cancer researcher.
Mm.
So like
Interesting.
it runs in the family, but those genes, they're.
So, good evening, it being 5:33. I'd like to,
Sorry.
no, it's okay, I just have to go through these motions. I'd like to call to order the BR meeting of today, February the 3rd, 2025. Welcome all. Present today are Rob McQuilkin, Julie Reed via Zoom. Tom Birmingham is away today, myself, Stephanie Rinzer, and Christopher Gao. Thank you, Desiree, for taking the minutes. And I think the first applicant for today is Mr. Matthews.
Shall I come up?
Please.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, because the microphones are here so that the Zoom people can
Okay.
hear you loud and clear.
And it would be great to, if you, can we
Pull
bring,
those up front.
yeah, would
Okay.
you mind?
As best as possible. I don't know.
Or maybe up on the chairs, up,
Here?
yeah, like, I mean, I
Okay.
can see it easy.
Okay. All right, so shingle samples.
Okay, so does anyone have any comments? Julie, would you, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
sorry.
and anyone can start.
I mean, of the two, the larger one looks better to me. It looks closer to what I think of as cedar shake sizes. And the kind of crazy angles that they do, which always look off to me in these asphalt shingles, are, while I do see a little bit of an angle, it looks straighter, which looks more satisfying. I mean, the ones that I really like, if you know the Gwathmey House, are architectural shingles. I mean, and they're very laid perfectly straight, and then they have a nice definition. And this category is less satisfying, but I think when it gets really unsatisfying, at least to my eyes, what the one on the left really accentuates, which are all these narrow little things with strange angles, and then it looks kind of cheap.
So, Christopher, what's your position on it?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, it's difficult to conceptualize once it's on the whole roof, how it looks, but this one is trying too hard to be something that it's not. When the one on the right is just being, listen, I'm just asphalt and that's all I am, and take me or leave me, whereas the one on the left is trying to pretend it's something. So I'm sort of agree with Rob, the one on the right.
Could I just comment quickly on it? I think they're meant to resolve further from a distance rather than at this distance. And the point of those on the left is, my understanding is they're a slightly higher grade, and the intention with the design that's there is they resolve to look more accentuated from the distance. And
yet
more natural, yeah.
And yet I'm very accustomed to these roofs. I've seen them at every possible distance you can imagine.
Sure.
And the eye sees what the eye sees.
Julie, do you have a comment? I think you're still muted. Wait 1 second.
Can you hear
Just
me?
by the way, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Called on your member. Yeah. Oh, this is it. This is the what's called UHDZ, ultra high definition, in situ at the house. So that's just say, yeah, that's the one on the left right there.
Since they are aimed in the opposite direction. The UH was the second one that was introduced, correct? And the first one we saw at the meeting was HD, correct?
Right. HDZ was the first one, and then the second one that was introduced was UHDZ.
So my preference between, if given those two, is not the U, because it just
That's the
disappears.
same.
It disappears a little bit better. I don't feel any reason to activate it more. So that's my, if everyone was in agreement that they wanted UHDZ, then I wouldn't have, such a beef with it, but I much prefer not to use that because of the level of activity. I just let it blend in.
Yeah, so we all seem to be on the same wavelength,
Okay.
yeah.
So are we Ready
Just-
for a vote?
Just what, you can certainly vote, that's your prerogative. I did receive an email from Mr. Ledwith saying that UHDZ was the preference of the board.
I
One on
think
the
there-
left.
there was a confusion because there were two, and I think we were saying, I think it wasn't clear which was which.
We didn't
Oh.
know, we weren't absolutely sure which was which, but the HDZ was the original sample that we saw. And UHDZ was the second one that was introduced, as far as
That,
I understand.
that is correct, yes.
I mean, yeah, that's why it's important to do it at the meeting, so we can all be on the
Mhm.
same page as opposed to individual emails and misunderstandings and things. So this is so important that we, that, you know, that we are addressing it now.
Sure. Do you want to just take one look at it in situ with both of the samples in situ on the house? Because I have that here.
I think we're all
That day
fine with that. We prefer the HDZ unless you've already purchased it. I mean.
Okay, well, I did check with the roofer and said, please move ahead with UHDZ. Now, whether he's purchased that or not,
Well, that's a simple phone call, just
And-
to
and-
undo that.
yeah, he was in Japan though right now, so, he said UHDZ he'd be able to get. I didn't ask about HDZ because that's the message I had was UHDZ.
I'm sure they're both,
So my hope is it's available, so,
I'm sure it is.
okay.
So is there a color, is there a color
Oh, weathered
specification
wood.
on there?
Yeah,
It's called
it's-
weathered wood?
Yeah, let me bring it up to you. So, so you're saying HDZ, correct?
Yes.
This is weathered wood.
Okay,
And so
So,
before we make a motion, the only other thing that I want to comment on is that as you know, we're very unhappy that that we're having to have the roof with asphalt, and because in our opinion we think the aesthetics of the house will be diminished. So I was just wondering if there's anything else you could do to the house. You provided pictures when you purchased it, and there was and you've kept that beautiful the door that with the cross hatching also. I think that was original, but the window to the left, it used to have muntins, and they don't have muntins anymore. I was wondering, so it doesn't look so it doesn't look as so authentic. With the sliding doors as well had see. So here, so the sliding doors now, they're just big glass, right?
It's not actually sliding, it's it's like there are two fixed panels and then an opening door, a main door to get in. So it's not like French door.
Oh, okay.
It's not sliders. And those are, they were just wooden inserts on the back of the door. You know what I mean?
Right,
It's
yeah,
like a, it's like a
yeah,
wooden
obviously the one
insert.
original, but it can't, and so that, you know, it made it more pleasing. It's, you know, it's obviously not original, but it just, and especially this window on the front, we're not demanding it. It's just, you know, it's just a suggestion that would make it the house look aesthetically a little bit more pleasing. That's the only comments I have.
I don't have a comment on that. I'm looking at the roof. I'm here for approval on the roofing shingle with the
Understood.
sample here.
all right. So,
In fact, just for clarity, while we're all in the same room, the dormer that's there, this will be on the sides of the dormer.
The intention is to do cedar on the sides of the dormer, which is, I've done fair amount of research around the park. And I've gone off a base of what the roofing contractor says is appropriate and standard, and the intention there is cedar on the dormers on the side. It's to be natural cedar. I provided many examples of photos of the homes around the park, particularly on stables, yeah. Talking about the verticals there.
Yeah.
The sides, not the windows, but just the sides.
Yeah,
And as far as the flashing,
the intention is to do what the copper flashing is the roofer has recommended.
Great.
that's all.
I don't think there's a lot of it it's not really
Visible.
feature rich
Yeah.
with regards to flashing, but
No.
it's, yeah.
Is that gonna be part of the resolution? The cedar around the dormers
It's-
and,
He's
It's
agreeing
like
to it
kind.
if it's what
Okay.
you want.
Excuse me, it's like kind what's there, so I don't think
Yes.
it needs to even
Okay.
be part of a resolution. We're
Okay.
just doing like kind, like kind.
okay,
Excuse
That's
me,
my view of it.
question on the, in the event that the HDZ is not readily available, prior to going ahead, you know, if there's a long lead time or some difficulty with it, there are a lot of other roofing shingle companies that may have something extremely similar. They have very similar lines. I'm sure this is what you want to use and what he wants to use, but if there's any difficulty with that, does anyone on the board want to have him submit an alternative that looks very similar to that, or do you?
I think that makes good sense. I mean, because there's enough of a distinction that I think this is really what this board member feels comfortable with, and I think each of us. And so in the event that you'd have to go to UHD because of supply, I'd rather not and see what are the other alternatives that are very close to HDZ, or maybe even better. I mean,
There are multiple alternatives that would probably be available, so that I think would be the strong preference, please.
for me as well.
I mean, if I could just sound off, I think if you cut the tops of those samples off, so you didn't know what those definitions were, and you put them side by side, 90% of an audience wouldn't know the difference between the two if you put them in situ and stood back 20 to 50 feet.
Okay, we
It's-
hear you, but we
yeah.
beg to differ. So this is what the resolution will reflect.
My request would be that if HDZ is unavailable, my understanding is you're gearing up to go toward HDZ, correct? Weathered wood.
Yeah.
And if in the instance, the roofer tells me that product is not available, because there's cost implications here
Then
as
we'd
well.
love to see some other
Yeah.
ones that are closer to HTZ. That's what Julia is saying and what I agree with. And I'm sure you will have no problem with HTZ.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
so, I would like to make a motion to proceed to a vote, to hereby approve the HDZ with the color of weathered wood, for the shingle color, as had been permitted by the BZA. And, do I have a second?
Matthews, 72 Clubhouse Road.
Yes, well, we said that
Oh,
in
you
the
said
beginning.
it.
Oh, okay, well, just to clarify that it is still Matthew 72 Clubhouse Road that we're talking about. So do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah, all in favor, yeah.
One in favor? I'm gonna vote against. It doesn't matter, but I'm just too heartbroken. I think the park deserves better. You know, but that doesn't make a
Appreciate it.
difference. Yeah.
It's
So-
a very, and it isn't it
I
an
love your
exception.
house. It's so beautiful. I'm passionate about it, but
There's an exception, this scenario that the bar voted against using this material was overturned by the BZA because of the fact the owners purchased the house and the
Mhm.
original grandfathered situation was asphalt. So that's why this exception has gone through.
Okay, so just so I'm crystal clear, I have approval on
HTZ.
GAF Timberline HDZ weathered wood
yes.
asphalt shingle. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
proceed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate your time and diligence. Thanks. Okay. John, may I take the samples?
Sure.
Okay, appreciate it. Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. So, the second applicant is number 3 Old Park Road, Calabrese. Hello.
Hi.
So, thank you so much for the roof line.
Sure.
Your detailed email to explain it. Would you like to start by talking us through it one more time?
Yes. So I, I did the original version with the new version next to it. On the plans. And, let me just go to the roof plan first, because I think that was the main.
That was the only thing, yeah.
difficulty was to get the roof plan changed. So I guess I'll start. The front elevation didn't really change very much, except for in this one, it did get pulled away from the
And
portico.
you
I mean,
turn-
this is the side elevation.
Right, right,
That's- I have it as the side facing the street. Here's the original. And then this one, I just did a double gable on the front and a gable on the street side as well.
I guess-
Then pulled, right now, there's a cricket in between these two roofs. And that roof line follows the existing roof line beyond.
Mhm.
So in this one, I pulled this roof continuous across. But then the problem with that is that I had to add a,
Hold on just one second, just while we're on this page.
Mhm.
Can you just explain this? So does this, so this roof ends behind this, and then there's like a small section of a.
it's sort of that's correct, yeah, because they're all like Yankee gutters, which are the, concealed gutters with
Okay.
copper panning in them. So on the roof plan, you could see this roof here. It's just a very low slope. Yeah, so this is a really low slope roof.
Mhm.
It's gonna read as a flat roof pretty much with just a gutter line from the ground level. Because of the way the elevation looks here, where on the it's basically flat. It's about a half an inch per foot slope on that.
Oh, so
roof. So I'm trying to keep
In
it
reality, it looks
flat.
almost, see, if it,
Yeah.
Rob, if it's flat, does that make a difference? If it doesn't read as a slope?
I was trying to keep this as low as possible,
Mhm.
just so you read the gutter line coming across,
Mhm.
right? And that is a long, now keep in mind, you're viewing the edge of a
Right.
hip
Right.
that goes back about 17 feet. So it's just a continuous.
And then I had a question about this dormer that's coming off just the gable, perpendicular to the gable. Yeah, on one side, but not the other, which,
So that, the whole problem with that is
Right.
it's a drainage problem, right?
Right.
So, the original roof line, which I know was the simplest one, right? Because we
Right.
were keeping the
Mhm.
existing roof. And then I was just basically extending that, like the existing
Mhm.
cricket.
So this is.
The existing
this is
roof.
Existing? up
That's
here?
correct, yeah. So,
Okay.
and the original, that's why I really think the original one works best, because we were just
Mhm.
extending
Right.
that cricket out like 5 feet.
Well, in all honesty,
I mean, not the cricket, the side roof out 5 feet, putting a hip on it, just
Right.
so the.
I
hip
mean, when
faced the road.
so when I looked at the new drawings, I thought, I see nothing getting solved. I see additional problems. So,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
probably similar to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
And
I
of,
think
of,
so.
of the two, I would probably feel more comfortable with the original.
And that's what you're coming across saying you
Right.
prefer the original than the
Yeah,
revised
it's
one. because-
So much simpler, and I think it ties
And-
into the
and I don't
existing, whereas
disagree.
this is gonna
You know,
Yeah.
require pretty much a complete demolition of
Yeah,
of
no,
most of the
that's too
existing
much.
roof here, and
Right.
then we run into problems of, this thing sticking out into the front yard a
Mhm.
lot more.
Mhm.
Only because I had to, once we wrap this roof around to connect to the front roof, I had to pull that whole
Right.
volume away for
Right.
drainage,
Mhm.
drainage reasons.
Right.
I mean, you could do a big
Are
turret
there-
here or something, but I
Kevin,
don't think that'd be appropriate architecturally.
Mhm. Are there any of the modifications in the second iteration that are worth taking and applying to the original or not? For instance, we had issues about the kind of rather cramped
I know.
flow of space here. Was there anything that you were able to improve upon in the,
Yeah, this one, because it got pulled, and I did intentionally do that.
so it had that good
Another 2
effect,
feet.
but at the
Had the good
expense?
Right, good effect here, and then a bad effect of rolling this roof down.
Right,
Rolling
right.
More towards the road.
And there's no other way of solving that sort of uncomfortable sort of lack of space without, right?
I don't think so, because if I take this piece out, which basically would just make it look strange if it wasn't there, because there is a roof behind it, you're still gonna see that slope.
Right.
Right, showing into the sidewalk here.
But what were the thoughts on the skylights? I see Mr. Calabrese, see you're on the, on Zoom.
Yeah.
Did, the one that's visible from the street, are you and your wife comfortable in eliminating that one or not?
No, she prefers it. I mean, understanding the history, as you know, the conservatory was an entire glass roof, which my wife enjoyed quite a bit. So then when I announced the decision to cover the roof so that we can have better use of that room during the summer, because otherwise it's just like a greenhouse. We didn't mind that when, you know, we had full year round use of the house, but we only use it now in the summer. As you know, we're in Florida. She insisted on skylights. In fact, she wanted more. And then the second consideration was as a pushback that she gave, and I agree with her, is that whether you're on Old Park Road or Tuxedo Road, I'm sure all of you are fairly familiar with our house. Nobody could see anything. The only people that could see that, the roof, the house even, is if they're standing in our what you call our front yard. That to me, I mean, as the owner of the home for 28 years, that's the side of our house because we walk in the front door where the circular drive is. No one could see it. It's impossible. You'd have to be standing in our yard to see the whole house, let alone a roof line, let alone a cutout in the roof. So
Yeah, so it was just, the talking of lighting, the only other thing is, I think we discussed was, all the garden lights are still come on every night.
yeah, and
So,
they will. But I need to get in contact with my electrician that put them in. He could change the
Okay, great.
hourly. He could make it something like 8 to. I think right now it's like 8:30 to midnight. We'll make it, something like 9 to 11.
Do you want them on while you're not there, or do you have other family staying there? 'Cause if you're not
No.
there, I mean,
What would be great is just have which so you use it at will when you use it. Otherwise, you let the neighborhood have dark.
so that it's on when you're there, and when you're not there, it's nice, and it's like a showtime. It's what do they say in Broadway? It's dark.
Let's go through this and we could talk about that.
Great. No, we'd appreciate that. Thank you.
So, and I feel like this pushback is a better solution too, because it only projects out about 5 feet off of this wall here, so it kind of transitions the massing to this.
Right.
There's no reason why I couldn't take this whole roof and pull it out to here,
Yeah.
which, would add on space into this corner here,
Yeah.
but then,
Well, some of the virtues of your problem solving required the alternate sort of mess to appreciate.
well, and also, right, yes, I think so.
Well, I think the three of us are in agreement with you all. Julie, what's your opinion about the original and the revised?
I think you're still muted. Should mute Julie.
Hi, yeah, I was looking at the plans. I prefer option one by far.
The original.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We're all, yeah. So. Well, we appreciate you trying.
Sorry,
We
sorry about
appreciate,
the-
Mr. Calabrese, your patience in going through this,
No, it's fine.
exercise.
In
the end, the original is clearly better.
Agree. Thank you.
So, are there any other comments or are we ready? Do you think we're ready to vote?
I am.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Which numbers do you want to use? So it's clear that it's not the revised.
Everyone is marked 1 and 2, like 1A2, right?
So the one is the
Original,
original.
so we
First
just
one
have
is
to
so
vote
it's
it.
number
original,
one.
1, and then 2 is the alternate. Original is 1,
Okay.
1A2, 1A3. 184.
The date is it there?
January 26th. 126.
Okay. So, I would like to make a motion to approve the plans for 3 Old Park Road. Could you read the version of the plans?
Is with the architect Kevin Brody, A 2.00, number 1, the original option. A 3.00, option number 1, the original. A 4.00, option 1, the original. A 5.00, 1, the original.
And the materials had already been discussed beforehand.
We're matching everything
Exactly.
exactly as the original house. And the original house is, somewhat of the benefit of being painted stucco is that we can match the paint color exactly.
Right.
And the trim color and the roofing. I think, Michael, you had this re-roofed recently, right? This house?
Yes.
So he has all the specs on the roof. So we'll just, his roofer will just, relay those specs to us. So
Thank you. So, do I have a second?
Second,
Aye.
All
Aye.
in favor?
great.
Thank you so much.
Original option. Thank you, Mr. Calabrese.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
See you around? Good night, John.
The third applicant for today is for Mountain Farm Road. Did not. Nobody?
No, he's not here just yet.
Okay, so we'll skip ahead to Mr. and Mrs. El Reyes.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Good
evening.
Hello.
Hello.
I don't know if you wanted to put this
Sure.
front here, maybe?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
please.
bring it on.
I know.
Where is
I-
that coming
I know.
from? It's the winter. you're
I
not
know,
supposed-
I thought the same thing in the back.
So who would like to talk us through it?
You wanna go ahead
Okay,
or?
so I'll introduce myself, David Higgins from Lang Consulting Engineering and Surveying. Been here many times, haven't been here, I think, probably since COVID, because the last time I was in here, we didn't have the wooden fuse or the monitor, so it's good to be back. John, how are you?
Good for yourself.
Good, thank you. So this is Mr. Tamer El Reyes and Amra. Is that right? Did I remember correctly?
Yeah, we just met
So-
Omar for the first time.
Yes, so we did the site plan for Mr. El Reyes a number of years ago. He had constructed the home, and then I believe there was a retaining wall in the back that I guess had some partial collapse somewhere. Oh, go ahead.
Undecided.
Mm.
Right here.
Yeah, okay. So there's 2 images here. This is the Google Earth imagery this is the Google Earth imagery from 2021. This is aerial imagery that we obtained with a drone in December 2024. So what we're looking to do is basically compare, what has changed since presumably any permits that were issued on the property had been closed out and what things had been changed since. So we provided a table to summarize what the changes were and basically numbered them. And what happened though mainly was that there was a partial wall collapse here. And in order to rebuild that, basically they extended the wall out and put a slate roof on top, put some steel girders underneath and basically Mr. El Reyes is using the area underneath here for just storage of some limestone and some other equipment that he has. That's, the main thing that had happened. We had also identified, I guess, in order to get to the rear wall here, there was another, access path that had been cut in off of Crow's Nest Road. And this, it was again, an access way to get down to the area here for his equipment. This isn't really, he's not using this as a driveway.
Mhm.
This is just for his own personal equipment, and not really for pedestrian vehicles. Or for, passenger vehicles rather. And I think those were the main changes that we had identified. And one of the things I think we showed on the map was he was going to reclaim this area here in the front by the road. Although-
Excuse me,
Sorry.
quick question, because I'm on, when you said reclaim this area, would you identify it based on your labeling or just where it is generally landing on the site plan?
So I think it's on the first sheet. There's an area that we show.
I've got the plan open, so I'll be,
Okay. Yeah, I think it was the first sheet in the plan set we submitted.
okay,
So there's an area up there. We just show a hatching in there and basically we were gonna close that off and then restore it with topsoil and seed, basically reclaim it as lawn.
okay. I
So
can
this,
see that.
this entire path is going to be lawn now?
Well, this over here, this, we still need to get, because these walls very often need to be repaired because they're dry stacked. So we need somewhere to get the equipment. That's the biggest, but here from Crow's Nest Road, we were planning on reclaiming this over here.
So reclaiming meaning you're gonna just make it like natural,
Yes,
not, it almost looks like bricks, but that's not,
yeah.
but that's not what.
It's, because I think it's geogrid underneath
Right,
it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we may wind up, I think the note just said topsoil and seed, but I think we were probably planning on putting some sort of a like a geogrid underneath that, basically
Right.
just help stabilize it, but it would appear to be lawn from the surface.
And if you notice, there's trees here, so we'll just continue with the tree line here. So
Mhm.
it should all be shielded from the road.
So the big question is, this work has been done, correct?
Yes.
So, I would like to know why you went ahead and did the work without,
Coming here first.
yeah.
No, you're 100% right, Chris. And so to be very frank, what happened is when the wall was falling, I was very worried about, as you know, this is my pool here. And if any weakening of this area could collapse the pool, and that would be catastrophic. So the code, I believe, allows for repairs. So we were repairing that as normal. As we were repairing, in order to buttress the wall, we laid a perpendicular wall against this edge. And when we did that, I said, you know what? It'd be a great idea if we can just create an area to store all the stone that used to be all here. So Julie, I know if you've ever driven by, you've probably seen equipment, stone under tarp. Now you
Nope.
can't see where I'm pointing to, but it was on the road. You could see it from.
No, I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looked horrible.
It looked spectacular, Tamer. Yeah.
Well, thank you. So we, and plus I had someone else kept bothering me, saying, get your equipment out of there. So I figured initially, I said, well, maybe I'll just park it down here, but I wanted to cover it. And that's why we covered this area, since we already had everything built. So it's all underground. I should have come to the board. So I apologize profusely because you're right. I shouldn't have done that. It kind of continued to grow from the repair.
So what is the square footage of the new structure roughly that's added?
So I know there was a table, a zoning table on the map, and there was an area on here. So we identified this as decks and porches. So the village has a maximum allowance of 25% of the ground floor area of the buildings to be the porches and patios. And so basically the table shows what the existing measurement was based again on that 2021 Google imagery that we had. So the existing number on that was 9,565 square feet. And the total that we're showing on the plan essentially as is now, under the 2024 surveying that we did. So the total terrace area went from 9,565 to 11,305. So
So it's about 3,000 additional square feet.
approximately, yes,
Right.
yeah.
And then variance will be required for that, right?
We've
Not- not
identified,
from us.
yes, based on the number exceeding the 25% of the total.
So what we will be doing today, we'll be opining on this, but we can't make any decisions. It has to go to the BZA. They'll decide what to do. And then theoretically we could come back. So
And I just want to apologize at this point. There's 3 of us who weren't able to attend the meeting. Unfortunately, I was in Virginia and Tom was in Mexico, and we just couldn't make it for that. But we would really appreciate another opportunity to
Yes,
come and
of
see
course,
it.
anytime.
It's very difficult to to see it just from the maps.
Of course.
Thank
Please
you.
let me know when.
Thank you.
because it's we're in the we've put us in the situation where you're started on the wrong foot, so you've gone 2 steps back, and so we've got to be what we want is that the end product is it's everybody's happy with it, that it's an improvement and it goes above and beyond what was normally done. So I'm looking for something extra to make the whole project better than it was. I'm very grateful that this messy area has gone. I've noticed you've constructed a stormwater basin. That is, I'm very pleased with that. One other suggestion that
Which will be an actual rainwater garden, as I understand it, would plant it up too.
well, that's what, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what my request to make it more palatable for me, to make me more accepting of this project, and improve visually the house overall, not just this area, is that from the lake, you see your magnificent house, and it's a brand new house because of the foundation. You see the foundation. So what would be wonderful is to do some native planting of trees that obviously don't grow too fast, too high, that would block your view, but would hide the foundation, the massive Fort Knox type wall of foundation. That would soften the house and make it so much more romantic and charming and beautiful, and come across
Wonderful
like
idea.
it's a beautiful restoration of an old house, as opposed to it's obviously a new house. And then with the plantings here, to be just a little bit more sympathetic with the instead of like rows of soldiers of the same planting, something more native, like native holly plants that are evergreen and have the berries. They're dioecious, so there's boys and girls, so you have to have both. It's the girls that
Really?
pretty ones.
I didn't realize that they had genders. Okay.
Yeah, no, but
Yes,
there's
they
some
do. You have to- and
plants.
you have to
Everything
get
in the
them from the
Ilex
same-
family.
You have to get them from the same breed, like the winterberries. They're 2 different types,
Right.
and they don't intermix. You have to get the right boys and girls of each type of winterberry. So you have
I'm
to.
gonna have, I'm
little bit careful.
I'm gonna request some help there when it comes to that, but yes, I agree. That's a
And
great.
it's the girls that are the pretty ones because they have the berries.
Mhm.
But for it's the boys. You only need one boy for about 20 girls.
I disagree with that.
But because at the moment it's there's the line of the
Arborvitae.
evergreens there and arborvitae, and it's a little bit so a little bit more naturalistic. That's what we're all about working around the landscape and making it look more respecting it in the way that Bruce Price did, the original architect, respecting that landscape. So that would be my
So Chris, so down here along these walls, so something to soften up these walls. I agree, because especially when the trees are down, you could see these, and
Right.
that's something that Amr and I have been talking about for years. So I agree, we should definitely plant something there. And then along the front, we could make some modifications.
I would just say along the front, if you could just be a little bit careful when your gardener puts the roots down.
Mm.
What I notice is that those arborvitae are almost on top of those oak trees. They're really cut into the roots. So if there's anything else being planted, just watch out for that and tell them to give those beautiful oaks a bit of space.
Okay. Thank you.
The only other thing, but this isn't, it's done. It's just, I love to, while we have this opportunity to say what I think, the covered outdoor kitchen dining area, do you use that?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's number one place I
Okay.
use.
Okay.
So that
Are
was
you,
part of the approved
Yes.
plans.
Mhm. Did you want me to get rid of it?
Well, no, if you won't use it, yes, but if you use it,
You're gonna-
then
We've had, our children have grown up with 100 kids being invited to pool parties. We used to bring a bus of kids from New York City, and that would erase.
okay.
No, he's talking about my favorite spot, not
No.
their favorite spot. My
Oh,
favorite spot,
gazebo.
the gazebo.
Gazebo,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, gazebo.
It's
we
just
use
that, it's just that, it says, oh, new house, but the same thing, if it's screened a little bit with trees, then, yeah. So it's just that would be, and that would be, that would make me very happy and be more, but as I say, it's up to, we have no influence on the BZA, it's a separate board, so, they'll say what they say.
So which aspects are subject to BZA variance now, other than
Terrace, I think.
just the terrace?
The
or is there
ratio
more?
of terraced.
That's the only thing? Okay.
So that's for our next stop, and then we'll come back, and what we could do is we could make some modifications to the plan, as far as some of the plantings.
Great.
That would be fantastic.
Okay.
And so should we arrange a visit via you? Or would you be able to communicate some times?
If
that
it's
are good?
okay, they can also, they can just contact you, Dora, if that's okay.
To the board members.
Feel free, just let us know when.
Okay, so we'll plan it when Tom is
I've
back,
already
so
done.
we can, so the three of us can go at the same time.
You and
Not to
Tom and
bother you.
Julie.
Yeah, oh, well, with three.
I'll go
There's
on
a-
along
There is a law
with one of
that
you.
we can't be three.
Oh.
We have to be two.
Well,
You
there-
can be three,
Well,
but you
Julie's right
can't.
across the street, so she could just walk across and
Okay.
walk down the road.
Okay,
I'll-
it's
I'll
the
go on my
sunshine
own.
law. We're not allowed to meet in threes when I love to be efficient and have everyone at the same time.
It does,
we're not
each one
allowed.
of you could come separately, it's okay.
Okay, we'll try 2 and 1.
It would be our pleasure.
Thank you. So I think that's.
Right,
that's
yeah,
probably all
just
for
to say
today.
again, we've to everybody on Zoom, all 10,000 of them. That, I know in the past, it was before my time, that you had a very difficult time getting the house built, and it was a very long and painful process. And what we're hoping to do is show that the bar at the moment is very cooperative, and it's very much a two-way conversation, so that we can add our wisdom to any projects, so that the end product is a win-win for everybody, and that hopefully we can bring to the table suggestions that you hadn't even thought of, that are very well received, and constructive criticism about things that you think are good, and we think, well, this is why they're not good. And so we have this collaboration, and so that's why we really want people to not forge ahead for whatever reason with their projects, and so that we can have a nice collaboration.
Right, but we want our neighbors to see this as collaborative and in good faith, and not just a matter of blocking or wasting anyone's time or running up bills, all of which is terrible. And I understand that in the past, maybe one could have been worried
We'll
about
bring up
that.
the past, but the past.
But at this point, we really want it to be seen as Christopher laid out, constructive, collaborative, and fair.
No, if I may, Stephanie, you have been here, what, 3 years now, 4 years?
It feels longer, but it's
Yeah.
probably
Time
only
flies
2.
when you're having fun.
I will tell you, because, we came to the park, we bought our land in 2002. We started with the Architectural Review Board. It just was just one Architectural Review Board and BZA, one board.
Or planning board.
There was no planning board. It was all one.
It was a planning board and BAR together. The BZA is.
Oh, it's
And
BZA.
then
Got
there's
it. Got it. It's a planning.
Because I don't think you I don't recall you needing variances to build the house.
Yeah.
It was just the architectural review board that had jurisdiction at the time.
Took us over 5 years.
Yeah.
To get approval.
We got engaged, then we bought the land.
Yeah,
And we got the approval when our older daughter was 4 years old on her birthday.
yeah.
And so that just sums it up.
That was too
I
slow.
don't think that would happen
That's not
ever
possible.
again.
That's what I'm saying. I'm so grateful. Actually, I was watching, especially with Mike. It is a collaboration. So it's wonderful to see. And I think it'll make our community much better and stronger.
I think so.
Because afterwards, anyone like we used to go through the board process,
Yeah,
they would want to move out.
which is the last thing we want. Right.
Exactly.
So
So
we want,
I appreciate it.
we want people to move to the park and build homes. We want, we need more tax income as a village because we're very small. So we want to make it an easy process. But yeah, with
For people who buy
collaboration.
the existing homes, you want them also to feel encouraged in order to put
Mhm.
money into the homes.
Absolutely.
Because that's also I noticed a lot of people like, I'm not gonna go in front of the board because,
Right,
it'll cost me more
right,
than it is to do the repairs.
right.
So,
right.
but thank you very
So
much.
Part of your penance is to spread the word.
Spread the good
Tell
news.
People that we're good
Yes,
guys
sir.
and we want to make a win-win for everybody and yeah, not to do this but as I say, that's us.
Because everything you did makes so much sense. I mean, it's such a great solution to issues that you were facing and the storage and all the equipment and what you did was terrific, including enhancements like that rain garden, which is beneficial to everyone in terms of water, the way water travels above a lake, that is a reservoir, so.
Thank God, because otherwise we would have told you to, undo it all. And that's, that may happen with the BZA, who knows? It's, as I say, it's not our jurisdiction. So it's a lesson to all you thousands out there.
We'll put it on YouTube.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much
No,
for
thank you.
coming in.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
thanks for having us tonight.
So
Appreciate
I'm
it.
hoping before the end of the week, I'll write you a letter to go to the BZA for those items that I think they need to address. And then you can make an application to the BZA.
Thanks, sir.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye, Julie.
Good, have a good night.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yep, nice meeting you all.
And
Good to see
you.
Likewise, take care.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
So our friend never.
So our third applicant for today didn't appear, so we'll take him off.
Let me just check my email. I think he would have tried to reach out to us, but
Yes. We used to use those.
Good night, all.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Night.
some of you saw him yesterday. He planned on coming.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Sorry.
And we had lots of discussions and food for thought. So maybe he's revising something. I'm not sure, but Mr. Overton's not on Zoom either. So
No,
Although he didn't think he probably would be, so.
right.
Okay.
So
Do we-
move on to
okay.
fencing.
You want to do the deer
one.
in the meantime?
let John finish looking. No?
That'll take a minute to update
Okay.
if you want to move on to the fencing.
Okay, so we'll move
application.
on to the fences. So we've been asked to provide guidelines and a list of approved materials for deer fences. By February the 16th. So what we're hoping to do today is gather comments from the different members so that we can put a schedule together by the 16th. So who would like to start?
I'd be happy to start. The most important thing for a deer fence for me is it's invisible, not to the
Okay.
deer, obviously, but to us. So that it just blends into the landscape. So if it's, I think the ones that I've seen, I mean, there's like a choice of green or black. It seems to me green would make most sense, but in actual fact, it seems to be the black one
I
that-
agree. Yeah.
that
Is the
hides the most. Yeah.
Okay,
And that the actual thickness of the wire is thin and not fat.
Okay.
And the spacing of the hole is whether it's 2 inches by 3 inches or smaller than that. It disappears. And that the posts used are the same color and ideally metal, so they're skinny but strong, and certainly not wood, which stick out like a sore thumb.
okay,
So that's my requirement.
okay. How about yourself?
Yeah, I just to reiterate what Christopher said, it's all about consistency, invisibility. In one piece, not having multiple pieces,
Mhm.
jerry rigged together, but a
Yes.
single tall black, rectilinear pole that's fixed generally with concrete so that they don't
Mhm.
list. That's the other thing. They need to be as upright as possible with secure footing.
Right, I think this was the thing that if it's, that I believe, when John comes back, he'll confirm that if it's in cement, then it's not technically a deer fence.
I see.
It's considered a perimeter fence. So there, I think up to now, it's always been that requirement that it is not fixed with cement, which, that's.
May be counterproductive to the,
Because I think change it from a temporary fence to a permanent fence.
right.
If you're putting up, putting a permanent fence up, then it's under the
I
different
suppose it can
jurisdiction.
be without concrete, but then it needs to be quite deep.
Right.
And very often in this area, you don't have depth to work with, which is why
Right,
I think, I would be more inclined, generally, for all intents and purposes, it's not cheap to put it up. Once you put it up, it is sort of intended, it's not permanent,
let's check with John. John, we were talking about for the fencing, with the deer fencing, that I believe up to now, the posts had to go into the ground without cement. If they went in with cement, does that make them not deer fences, and does it put into another category or?
And the problem is if you don't use cement, particularly here where you don't have great depth of it, they list, and that's.
I don't recall the post being cemented in.
Making a difference?
Making a difference.
Oh, okay.
What was approved as deer fence initially was a black, maybe 3/4 or 1 inch square post with a black netting. It really didn't say much about
Okay.
if they were cemented in or not.
Because from where I sit, you want consistency, simplicity, like in other words, one post, not multiple jury rigged together. You want them to be as straight as possible,
Sure.
as regular as possible and consistent. And in my experience, you kind of, in this landscape, you do need to have the option of securing them with cement, but
Oh, then that's, yeah, if there's no restriction, then that makes sense, because the last thing you want is it having to maintain it all the time. It looks a mess all the time because
Right.
it's.
It's bad enough with the trees. I mean, it takes a certain amount of constant patrolling and fixing because of, storm damage,
Mhm.
limbs and trunks even, coming down on it, but
So, I would like people to question whether they actually need deer fences at all and why they want them, rather than just being sold something by their landscapers. I think they're actually probably completely unnecessary. They don't protect anyone from ticks, which are transmitted by mice and rodents much more than deer. And there's plenty of ways to combat ticks by encouraging bird species and particularly turkeys. Yeah, I have 24 wild turkeys coming
Oh, they're
through every
wonderful.
day.
And they
You just
eat
put,
so many
put some
ticks.
snacks, and they'd simply just take care of all the ticks. So I'd like people just to consider whether they really need it and why they need it. When it comes to protecting landscape, there are many ways of collaborating with the deers, cohabiting with them. They there are many plants they don't touch at all. They're plants that could be just wrapped in burlap at certain times of the year. So there's subtle approaches, and there are certain plants that could be surrounded by a fence only for a certain time period until they're strong enough or big enough and they're no longer palatable. So if one just considered the impact of such a fence on wildlife, I think that'd be really important to remind people. And also I'd like just a little bit more time to make sure that no animals will die in these things, because it is a known fact that deer die horrible deaths in these fences, and as do turkeys. And I would just like to do some more research to make sure that we recommend fences that don't hurt anyone.
I mean, yeah, we have deer fencing and we have so much wildlife coming through because they find a way through. I mean, the turkey, the deer, sorry, not the deer, the fox, the skunk, the raccoon. Everyone finds the bobcat comes through. I find the tracks all the time. So everyone comes through.
Okay.
I will say that the mature turkey, they come over, but when they have young, they can't unless they happen to be right at one of the openings that have found. So we do have fewer and fewer turkeys, and which is a wonderful thing to have, especially with regard to deer ticks. But I mean,
I don't have deer fencing. Is it necessary to have the deer fencing right down to the ground, into the ground? Or is it best to have a little bit of space? That way the possums, for example, which are a great groomers for ticks, can get through, and other wildlife can get through. So that would be a recommendation as well, not to have it to the ground so the other wildlife.
Or even better to have it, because the deer will go underneath too. You'd be surprised how agile they are if it's all the way across. But if you have, what we have is that where animals have sort of cut holes open, we sort of leave them. Not where the black bears do, because they take the whole thing down and then the deer will get through. But where other smaller creatures have, or in our gate, there's a sort of an opening, and the animals all find their way. If they want to get in somewhere, they'll get in there, and and most of these are very intelligent sort of mammals, often predators that I'm talking about, but we've never certainly had anyone die because of, since 2007.
That's good.
One
Julie?
thing to bring up about fencing is, during this, unfortunately, one of the things that happens, and that's just it's hard to have any wildlife friendly fencing guideline because deer cannot see what makes it invisible to us is also invisible to them. So, if you want to balance how to make it more visible to prevent injuries, because there are tons and tons of injuries when you have overuse of deer fencing. But what they really can't see is black and dark green, which is exactly, or brown, which are exactly the colors that you would want to use. So, I think that if it wants to reduce visibility for us, will also reduce visibility for them. But the one thing that is certain is they can clear a 6-foot fence. They can't typically, if somebody wants to protect something, they do an 8-foot fence. So during this thought process, how to kind of balance, really what it comes down to for, just the community issue, which it's an animal welfare issue. And if people are not, I know out in Eastern Long Island, people are constantly calling their landscapers to remove a deer that is hung up in a fence. And, we know.
I've heard it many times from landscapers.
Many. I've never seen that.
And there's enough open space.
They don't survive.
There's enough open space here that we really don't see it. So I don't think we're going to get into a situation where we have overuse of deer fencing and lack of habitat. But I know, Stephanie, you brought up, just sort of an animal welfare issue. And that's the only thing that happens when it is overused on repeat, house after house after house. That's when that happens.
Mhm.
And they can
Oh,
navigate around it. They do.
Right.
So that was really my only thing, I mean, as far as disrupting their kind of natural movements or their migration patterns or what they want to do. I think that the village has the luxury of having so much open space that it doesn't necessarily have a negative impact that way.
I also think that as much as possible, when using deer fence, it should be encouraged. I don't know if this should be a provision here or not, or if it's just, but people do tend to, so they're not staring at black plastic is to plant on either side of it, and sort of, which would slow down the sort of,
It indicates that the fence is there.
right, it
To have
helps.
some kind of a stagger, it actually, it
That's
increases
a good idea. That's
But
good. That would
the
help.
understanding. Yeah.
And John, would it help, because you would be the mediator there when people come, would it help that there's certain samples that you can say, this is not correct, this is not something that would be approved?
Well, I
And
think
this
all
is
your
something.
comments that are made tonight are very helpful and should be in a document.
Mhm.
And as the law requires, we're supposed to have a list of approved materials, or maybe even materials you don't want.
Right.
So we can make
Yeah.
it very clear from
We're
the
gonna
get-go.
write that up and we're
Right.
gonna
And then,
And also,
add some materials to the back.
yeah,
and coming back to your point, Stephanie, and not to add any headache to John's already headache laden life. But, to the extent that, if people have to come for approval for a deer fence, if the building inspector can be empowered to kind of advise as to whether, is there something really at stake where you need this? Or are you being crazy? Because you think this is going to save you from Lyme disease, and it's not, because the vast 90% of it is on rodents or
Mhm.
whatnot. Like if it is just a lawn or, where it might also have additional threats to wildlife, because, what you're talking about, Julie, I think are lawns that are being protected and with nothing, and it's just an invisible thing they run into, thinking they can run right through it.
Mhm.
Over and over and over again. And what happens is there's no place left to go. We don't have that problem. But
So I mean, to avoid that kind of scenario that you're talking about, Julie, and also avoid what Stephanie is saying, which is unnecessary deer fencing, apart from the
Oh, I've
animal
got that
welfare,
too.
is to allow the building inspector to approve or not based on the necessity of use. Like if you've plowed tons and tons of lucre into gardens that cannot exist with deer living in them, that's another matter. Then you have an interest in protecting that. And I think that should, a homeowner should be free to protect that. But I also think they should be discouraged, even actively somehow, if there could be a mechanism from using deer fencing where it really isn't necessary and there's nothing at stake.
Exactly. Okay, I think we've got some good points that we've gathered, and we can, plan to write everything up by the 16th. So I'll start putting it down and I'll circulate it for
okay,
comments.
great,
Okay,
perfect.
thank you. So we skipped ahead to the deer fencing issue that we had to discuss today. So we're going back to point 3 for tonight, which is yourself.
Which is the most fun application to talk about.
Yes, we're excited, yeah. Okay. Isn't that sweet?
So cute.
Look at those jerkin roofs, a term that we've now mastered. That is a handsome model.
Oh, thank you.
I have little paper ones, from the old days.
Yeah.
Actual paper models.
I know, I've always been a terrible model builder, but not anymore. It's easy.
So that thing came out of the printer like that.
I had to do a little bit of fussing with it, but
So
yeah.
with the posts you had to add, or
Right, so if you can imagine, when it lays down little bits of plastic, it can't do it in midair. So porches or eaves or that kind of thing, it needs like these temporary supports.
Mhm.
And so
Then you have to cut
You
them
cut
you
out.
have to cut them out and,
With
like I
a
said,
X-Acto or,
right, and I'm not terribly good at that, so sometimes it's,
so cool.
but, all right.
So I have to apologize also that several of us weren't able to attend
Oh, no
the
problem.
meeting, and we're hoping to have a second chance to come to the site.
Sure. I understand that, you know, having a quorum and all of that is problematic, so whatever you
Thank
want.
you, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Small. I'm John Overton's architect. We're here to introduce you to our proposed house at lot number 7. I'm gonna get my glasses.
Mr. Overton is the owner of this whole area,
Yes,
and this is a house that he's planning to build for himself, or just as a model house for the other lots, or what we do.
well, I don't know about a model house, but certainly as a proof of concept.
Uh-huh.
And I think he feels like if there's a house here, we
Build it and they will come.
that's the way to put it.
There we go.
So that adds a dimension to this presentation that we would, once you've done your presentation, sort of be very vocal about what we know about the locality of what this is supposed to supply and demand, so we can share some insights about what people are looking for,
Great.
which will help you finesse this project.
Great. And he may decide to use it for his own personal use for a while. I mean, I don't know, he's,
Right.
He has taken a personal interest in this house, and I don't get the sense that sort of like an anonymous kind of like
Right.
cookie cutter type
It's a
house.
beautiful lot and it's a beautiful building. So I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah, it's a really nice lot. So the lot in question is right here. These are small drawings. I have the big ones, but they're just so
Right.
big. Right here. This is a blow up of it. Perhaps this is a little bit easier. So the sort of circular turnaround is here, and then the driveway runs up along here. So these are drawings that were approved by the planning board for basically subdivision approval. And part of the conditions of a subdivision are that there's areas set aside for habitat protection. I think the rattlesnakes
Right.
need protecting, so that's what these zones are. There's also utility easements passing through the site where site utilities will serve the house, but also pass through to serve the other lots as well.
I just want to
So
point out
this
to Stephanie, this
footprint,
is not the same. This is
exactly,
Correct.
This was the theoretical one. And then
Okay.
this is
Yeah.
the details.
Right,
So-
so that was the footprint of like a placeholder house, I guess you'd say, for the subdivision approval. And then here, what we've done now that we've drilled down into the house, we've changed the orientation of the house so that the front of the house greets you as you approach it. The house is more or less in the same position, same location.
So this is the front. No,
It's like that, right? So
Yes.
you come up like
Right.
that, and that's the garage there.
Exactly. And the other big difference is that we've sunk the garage in the basement level, mainly to reduce the bulk profile of the house. So the driveway comes down and you would enter the garage
Nice.
down below
yeah, I
here.
like.
That's lovely.
John really likes this a lot. I think we need to proof that it works. We have to dig a test pit.
What do you mean?
Well,
Can you
rock-
blast that or chip away that? What is the question?
I think that's the issue.
Can you chip away enough to make that, to get that?
How much chipping is involved? The planning board did place restrictions, if I remember, on certainly blasting, but also kind of the amount of chipping. Nobody wants to hear that.
Right.
All of that. So
Right.
I think we're allowed to do a certain amount of rock removal, but there's some unknowns here. So in a perfect world, I think we'd really like to sink the garage at the basement level. If we can't, there is enough room here for the garage next to the house, but John really wants it to be kind of under.
It's a very elegant solution if it can work.
Wait, just on that point, John, the chipping versus blasting, that would be go out to the neighbors and they would decide, or what, or is there a moratorium on blasting?
Well,
Or
there's as far as this approval the subdivision approval, it's a condition of the approval that there's to be no blasting
okay,
whatsoever.
okay.
You could always get the trustees to give a variance, I think, on blasting or not.
If there's restrictions on blasting, there's restrictions on blasting.
Yeah.
But there may be, there is some language in there about chipping, but I think it's not a prohibition. It's more, I'd have to kind of read it a little more carefully, but I think that there's sort of like a time limit
Right.
as to
And
that.
this would, and this
It's
probably
not
would involve
actually
a
so
lot.
bad. Chipping it's not, I mean, I was next in New York City, next to the Spence School, I was the immediate neighbor. And they dug an entire gym, basketball court and swimming pool
Through
down.
chipping.
Yes, and it was, it was horrible, but we were immediately next to it, and I think this is not, with those distances.
And you shared walls and
Shared
and
walls,
it didn't
yeah.
affect you.
It did affect me,
But I
but,
mean, it
I don't think
Didn't affect the structure.
yeah, it's not, this is much, much smaller than
Sure.
the digging that was done there and
Yeah.
it was all solid rock next. So I think it's much faster than people think and much quieter at a big distance. I don't think it's really a problem.
We've had a precedent in the past.
Oh, you
It was
did?
Very, 2 years of chipping, so
Oh, okay.
everyone's like,
Okay, sorry, I didn't.
That's why I was
that
thinking
wasn't
with
me.
blasting, get it over with, and
I see.
instead of the
Okay.
Chinese water torch.
Okay.
Carry on.
Hopefully we'll,
That's
with
detailed,
with
yeah.
some luck, we'll find that we can.
We don't have that problem there.
So it's a wooded site, a secluded site. Really from the entrance to the site, you really can't see the house at all. The school is over here and over here. But it's pretty much a secluded wooded site. And so I think our concept for the house is to build a house in the woods, basically, a house that's private, that takes advantage of the woodland views, that's not looking for kind of like distant views or not looking to
That's
cut down
okay.
lots of trees. So
I think you have some specimen trees that are spectacular. That's what I hear.
there are some really great trees. There's a lot of also kind of like a lot of barberry and that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well,
Um,
that has to
The
go.
less of that, the better.
Yeah, but in general, I think as far as landscaping goes, we want to have just a very light touch. So really, it's just, the driveway passing through the woods, even this middle area, I think should be wooded. The planning board included in their plan some screening to screen the house from the school. Well, this is, maybe I should go back to the, sorry. But pretty much we have the house, the terrace, a small lawn in the back. And really the rest we're thinking of just being wooded, maybe some foundation plantings, but and a house in the woods. And that extends to the types of materials that the house are made of, such as sort of natural materials that kind of fit with the surrounding landscape.
What kind of materials do you have in mind?
Well, I'd like to maybe save that for just a little bit.
Oh, save it? Oh,
Yeah, because we have a lot of different ideas and I'd really like your input.
Right, okay.
But maybe I thought I would start by introducing you to how the house is organized. I know the interior stuff is maybe of less interest to you guys, but it does inform the massing.
So much when we know why something is
Yeah.
there, it really
Mhm.
helps a lot.
Right, here, feel free to grab this and kind of.
So
play around.
underneath the porch, you've got these sort of French doors that create a conservatory or what? I'm trying to-
Here?
Yeah.
It's a big living room, lots of glass. So the idea is that it's, again, we want to,
Which is gorgeous, but it's sort of shielded from by this sort of wraparound porch, so
so,
it doesn't feel off-putting.
right, and I think the idea is that we can take advantage of the woodland views. But the porch, it faces south, so a lot of sun, but the porch sort of protects
Yeah.
the room from, the too much sunlight.
Brilliant.
And so this is really the major space is, this big.
That's all the
living room.
way, that's just in here.
Yes,
At the first one.
exactly.
So all of underneath the porch, it's all paved with bluestone or, yeah, right, got it.
So you enter here, front hall with stair, dining room, kitchen. There's a stair from the garage that comes up to a mudroom, the kitchen with a breakfast area. And then there's sort of a transitional kind of bar, butler's pantry type room, which gets you to the porch and this back terrace. And then over here, there's a kind of, there's a guest room with a bathroom and so forth. Can also be used as a home office if that's, there's some flexibility here. It could be, if someone wants to age in place here, it's a first floor bedroom. Alternatively, if someone is working from home, could be a great study. So that's what that is. And then upstairs are the bedrooms, basically. Kind of stair hall, again, kind of a flex space. Could be a library, bedroom. And then, so for the massing, these are some perspective views. I'll just scatter these around. You can see them. Basically, these are devoid of material. Feel free to just kind of flip through all this stuff. Really just focusing on the massing of the house. You can see again from the model, but essentially a 1.5 story block here. This little wing here is just a 1-story block. So we tried to keep the bulk profile pretty low. So the second floor, the eaves are lowered a little bit. So that the ceilings are kind of have that sort of almost like a cozy attic feel to them, with dormers and so on. Again, to kind of lower the bulk profile of the building rather than have a full second story. Still, spatially, it's generous, but I think from a scale point of view, we're trying to kind of keep it intimate up there. And then the jerkin head hips, again, sort of cut down on the bulk profile of the house. And then in the back, we have this wraparound porch, which is sort of kind of continued over to the kitchen and the breakfast area here. The intention is to kind of both create a terrific place to be, a nice transitional space between the living room and the outside area, but also to sort of break down the scale of the house instead of having a big kind of looming wall out there, just to sort of break it up a bit. So you can see this kind of subtle, sort of, you could see the terrace here, and then the kind of small grassy lawn in the back. We do have to, because the combination of the terrace and the wraparound porch and the front porch, we will have to apply to the BZA for a variance, because the porches and terrace exceed 25% of the footprint of the building
How much, by how much?
by a decent amount.
Okay. Because I was almost wondering, looking at that expansive terrace, like the big.
Yeah.
We didn't want to break it up with some, either right along the house and or even in the midst of it around for plantings that,
I think we should do that.
right? I mean, it wants that.
It does. So we.
And that in turn would take the number down a little
It
bit.
will. I think you're absolutely right. So let me just go back to the plan here. Basically, the terrace, there's an alignment here, which is basically what determined the terrace, but it doesn't have to be that big. You know, we can have planting beds or, you know, hedges or something like that too.
Like, do you see where the bay is? I mean, imagine if you came out to the bay and that was all bed right along, and then you had like one or two other, you know, 5x4 or whatever, they would be like sort of staggered things that could break up that space and allow it to be the forest house that it wants to be with, I don't know, ilex or what you were saying, like inkberry or some of these plants that we love.
Yeah, I think it needs to be big enough for outdoor dining and entertaining, but it doesn't have to be gigantic.
Right.
And certainly, if we do have this grassy area, if they're entertaining, that can kind of be an overflow space. So.
And you've got a lot of good terrace right underneath the porch as well. So I mean, you know, there's a lot of room for.
Right. Now, if I do substantially reduce this terrace, I think I'm still going to go for a variance.
Right.
But
Right.
before we do go to the BZA, I think we will make that adjustment. We'll include some planting beds to reduce this area of paving.
Well, and the house has such a great sort of softness. It's funny, I love it even more seeing this and see. I don't know if you know the Harriet Beecher Stowe house. It's because we're in Hartford. Do you know it? Oh, but it is by Calvert, or it's after Calvert Vaux. I don't know if Calvert Vaux did it or if it was sort of after the designs, but it's that sort of you know, Victorian Gothic cottage architecture. And this is almost just like a much ballsier, larger version of that building. It's funny seeing it in gray, because it's a verdigris house. It's sort of, which I hadn't really. When I saw the plans, I was thinking of it as being shingled with brown, dark stained, and then looking at this, it appears to be stuccoed. At least what hers is.
This is kind of a virtual plastic. Model.
Sure, it's not the
it's just really
intention, but it just
retro
jumped
massive.
in my.
Right.
But she's got those jerkin roofs and everything,
Oh,
and it's funny because you were saying that you'd seen on the website this wonderful Gothic cottage, and just so, I mean, even this building as it is has some of that language.
So, I think maybe now's the time to maybe talk a little bit about the materials. So when we first submitted these drawings, or since we've submitted these drawings, we did a little bit of tinkering. I think what I'll do is I'll start by introducing our kind of initial line of thinking and then our subsequent kind of investigations. The initial thought was that the walls would be just kind of natural red cedar that
Shingles.
red shingle, yeah, shingles, for example. I really liked the way Stonehurst in this is H.H. Richardson House in Waltham, Mass.
Oh, so beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, I just love that kind of natural the weathering. It's since been restored. This is a picture I took recently. So it's, brand new shingles here. But eventually it will age to be what it, to be this. St. Mary's is maybe another example, like kind of a local example of kind of a natural weathered shingle that has this variation based on, kind of different exposures. This is kind of pointing up to the sky a little bit more and it gets a little more rain. So it does have that kind of beautiful kind of weathered appearance. And then a brick foundation wall, brick retaining walls. The roofing, not really sure here. I've labeled it as possibly like a gray, either cement tile, maybe a gray clay tile, or perhaps, I'm not exactly sure the budgetary kind of implications of if we have to do an asphalt roof, then, the roof here, I think, is really a good color match.
I think it would be hard to imagine doing an asphalt from the ground up, you sort of from the start.
Well, I agree. It's not.
And that wouldn't be to code, so you'd have to get a variant.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah.
Perhaps best not
You
do
can
that.
replace in like if it was already asphalt or.
I see. Oh, well, this is good information. Okay, so.
No, I loved the idea that you were talking about. I mean, depending on what materials you use for the other things, I love the idea if you do go in this dressier direction that you'd mentioned, which maybe you're leading to the ceramic, but
Right, so since submitting this, we did a little tinkering. John is really attracted to the idea of, whenever I say John, I don't mean him.
Okay.
John Overton is really attracted to the idea of a half timbered building with kind of a Tudor type treatment. So these are elevations in that way. It's basically, it's the same house, just a different treatment. And different kind of color investigations. John's favorite is this, where we've taken a bark sample basically from a near, tree on the site to determine the color of the half timbering. And then the stucco, he really liked the kind of maybe a little more kind of burgundy version of the brick.
This is great that it's got character. And that's what we're looking for, that it sings and it's original and
Why are these windows not aligned? Could they?
Well,
just
I know.
Find that a bit, I just find that hard.
I love it that they're not aligned.
I know, I knew you would love it, but.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to keep it somewhat picturesque and it really worked. I mean, the way the plan is working out.
There's something about these slopes.
The way the plan, so first of all, the color.
I'm not loving the way this gray is coexisting. I think
Okay.
it's so interesting, these bold gestures you're making here are really exciting and wonderful, and they feel very Wannsee. If you like, there are a lot of buildings where they begin going crazy in late 90s, but with timbering, but like really dressy timbering, storybook. There's something that's not feeling right, and I don't know what to say.
Let's see if I can,
Whereas if you were to have,
so here's a kind of like a material collage, which so the half timbering color here, the stucco color there. This is brick with mortar that matches the half timbering color, some bluestone, a color for the window sash. And then this is a cement roofing material, which is kind of a gray, but it has bits of red in it.
Is that tried and tested, that roof? Has it been that roofing material? Has it been around a long time? Do you know?
Yeah.
It has, and it works. It's
Yeah.
has great longevity.
Oh, yeah,
I think, sorry to interrupt, the fact that this is just one
Yeah,
strong gray is
right.
throwing us off. Whereas this is, different.
But this could also be tweaked to be darker, like all the good things here and be a little bit darker, couldn't it?
More heterogeneous, right? But we-
Yes. Right, would be really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at what's great about our train station, the kind of, have you looked at the train station? Now that's all slate, which also would be amazing here, but the heterogeneous, if I'm, sort of quality of the sort of one color, one value, sort of, there's enough variety. I think it would really animate this roof in a nice way. You're right. I mean, this is partly just the CAD, but it also does feel a little bit pale and insipid overall the drama.
right.
This is already a step in the right direction to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
The other thing is, this house I love brick and I love combinations of brick and stone, and I love them much as those entrance gates
Mhm.
have a whole conversation of granite and brick.
Mhm.
And I would challenge you to find a way to bring some of that in without aping those columns, which are a little bit Moorish anyway, but just like to have a huge brick foundation and brick walls on this feels totally wrong to me, especially with the coloring. I mean, I would expect much more sort of stone,
Mhm.
if anything, and very judicious use of brick. Maybe let this chimney be primarily brick, like the James Brown Lord House that I was
Yes.
pointing out. If you saw that beautiful with all the sort of sculptural elements and the cantilevering and the angling up that I showed you.
Let's begin.
Silence, but which I think is just it's a cousin of this.
Well, that house is amazing because the different types of stone.
Yeah.
Was just-
Oh my God, and it's all local. That's
Yeah.
all from the site, the zebra stone.
Yeah.
So they have the gray granite, but then they also have this zebra stone. It's like white and black, it's like ermine. It's this is a great house.
Yeah, no, it's.
And I think yours is on the way to being sort of similar. The other thing is I maintain that they're not fan lights. What do you call these?
Yeah, no, I
But
totally
that
hear what
looks
you're saying.
very inner ring suburb,
Well,
especially
on a
for this
on a
house.
different house, it could be good.
It
I
could be
think-
glorious.
I think that here, though, as we were kind of maybe doing an iterative effort, the detailing of the porch posts in particular and the door there, even some of the window detailing became a kind of default sort of. And so I think if we're going to go into this kind of Tudor direction,
You might
I would develop
explore.
the details
Mhm.
more to be more kind of Tudor detailing.
I also love the suggestion. I don't know. Maybe I'm just seeing, again, this is CAD, so I think I'm just seeing drain pipes. I like drain.
I haven't drawn, okay, so these are open rafters essentially. So one of the
Oh,
things
good.
that
So I was seeing a definition of a
Yeah.
piece of timber.
yeah, so,
I love that if you went even farther with that.
well, one of the things that I'm kind of think I need to tinker with a little bit is these rake boards, do they need to be bigger? I'm drawing
But
it.
that detail's so beautiful, those round.
Yeah. So that would occur on every single rafter tail throughout the whole house. And these are shown at 8 inches, maybe they want to be 10 or 12 or so, I'm gonna have to kind of
That's beautiful.
tinker with that a little bit. And I will next time I'm here.
But even to bring these up a little bit, if you look, what's the house that Ryan Lynch lives in? That has some interesting, it's the carriage house that goes to Psalm, and that has some interesting.
Sunny.
Sonny, I mean, not. I don't know, I think that's really interesting. Also similar to I'll call it fan light because I can't really think of what the term is, but see these little incised boxes, again, that's feeling very spec house and not really up to the rest of the level,
Mhm.
that detailing, but.
The drain pipe downspout issue is that there's a house here that has these dormer windows, and so it has gutter drain pipe, gutted
Yeah, I
drain
know.
pipe.
It's something I'm
So-
gonna need to work out, whether, it's possible that we just forego.
I would
forego
Yeah,
forgo
it.
which would be fantastic.
I
Yeah.
would forgo it
Um,
because, and then you've got another roof, it all collects and
Well, on
goes
this
down.
side, you'd
On
be
this
there.
side, yeah,
Oh.
there's certain places though where we'll have to have them. I do need to work on the leader.
Yeah, it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, there may be,
Yeah,
yeah. So,
yeah.
next time I'll show those and, I'll also bring a model of it, kind of a large scale model of the eave detail and kind of sill detail. And maybe kind of porch eave.
Did you see that when the Gwathmey house that I showed, which as you come up,
Yeah.
and did you see that door, that beautiful sort of a teal colored door with those, it's like, yeah, do you have the front door there? No. If you go back, there's a front door that is, it's actually a screen door. It is
Okay.
so beautiful, just as far as the language of whatever might,
Okay.
it might be worth just it prompt some other brainstorming.
Underneath that, I saw the flash of color.
Here, well, this is an earlier, I think this is two or something.
Oh, my.
John doesn't love that.
Oh, my God.
But-
Oh, me too.
Ah, can I say
Yeah,
something?
it's a-
If you could take
Yeah.
elements of this and elements of that color wise and marry them, I'd be in heaven.
Well, that roofing material is spectacular. It's, let me see here.
And this
that
is
would be
what
really
this
wonderful, I
property needs to satisfy the supply and demand. It has to be something wow. It has to be, you got to think, Mr. Overton has to think about the next book that
Honestly,
is
if
going
you-
to be done on the
Can you-
historic houses.
Can
in
you show
Tuxedo
him
Park.
another iteration? Oh, you've got,
And so the house that he builds, the
Mm.
house you build for him, he's got to think it's going to be the centerfold or the cover lot of the next book. And it has to stick out and it has to be the conversation of Tuxedo. It has to be handicap accessible because there's a lot of people in Tuxedo Park want to downsize and they want a house that they can access with a wheelchair. And this is just perfect with this wraparound terrace iteration that they can be outdoors, but being safe indoors. And
Totally.
and it has to be like a folly, something magical, something that we're all talking about, and all jealous that we want to live there.
But honestly, if you added some musk to every single one of these colors, like this is more pea green, this is more rich and pungent, this is darker. I think he would have elicited a totally different reaction from him. This looks insipid because it's not like the
Mhm.
colors aren't. Did he hate it? Or-
No, I mean, I.
But it's so in the right
Yeah,
direction.
yeah.
Did you see this?
She comes in. Oh, where is the?
It's a green dream.
So
Can she-
the roofing
where's the
material is
color?
a
Cameras
clay
over
tile,
there.
I love that.
Ludowici,
Can you see
Kind
it's
of green
green?
glaze.
The supplier, I don't know what that is.
yeah, it's a Polish, basically
She's
they've been
mu-
around
you're
for
muted.
Let me just.
100 and
It's
something.
out of Polish, literally made there, or?
Probably.
Oh.
Are any of these,
Ludowici has a Polish company, but it's, they're made in America. Yeah,
thank you.
Oh, look. there.
This is a little higher. There
So
you
basically
Oh, okay,
the way the colors arrived is, this is the bark color.
Yeah.
got it.
And this is
Thank you,
basically the
Chris.
same color, just a much lesser value.
But what if you were to amp it up, give it a little bit
A little more
more
punch.
musk and
Yeah.
punch and like, I think it could be
I
so
think they-
great.
I would like it just like that.
Oh, you like the color?
Yeah, I like the color a lot.
But I'm just wondering, why didn't he like it? I'm trying to think, like, is there another way to
Maybe
get
just
him?
needs
Well,
to
maybe-
get used to it. Sometimes it
I'll,
takes a while.
Have you seen the house on East Lake Road? It has a green roof.
Well, which one?
It's the former Juilliard property. And the roof, then they did this modern house. which-
Schmidberger.
Schmidberger.
Which wasn't very successful and it's being redone, but the best part of it was the green tile. roof.
And that's where I've seen the boxes.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
And is it, how far along East Lake is it? Is it
It's on
past
the-
Crow's Nest or
37,
before?
is it? No, it's,
Before.
it's,
Well before, yeah,
Oh,
you go
okay.
past the Gillette House, the
is it
recreation of the
37, John? No,
Gillette.
37 is Brook, isn't it? It's, what is it, 8? Oh my God.
We were talking before about Julia Morgan.
Hmm.
You mentioned the,
Yeah.
the women's club.
Women's Club.
She designed this house as well.
That's in Wintoon, isn't it?
Oh my God.
That's in, for the Hearsts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
See, I do love the symmetry. They are symmetrical.
Oh, when you have all this other stuff going on,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. When you don't have it, when it's cookie cutter, that's when
Mhm.
you need a little bit of something to think, oh, it's not cookie cutter.
but in terms of the palette, you know, it's.
Oh yeah, I would totally live there immediately.
Um,
Do you think so where are you with him? Is he open to, so he likes the idea of timbering. You like the
Yes.
idea of timbering, I think.
I think we're
We-
totally into
we like
that.
the idea
Yeah.
of
I think he likes the punch of the red.
So I was gonna look up this
Um,
reassurance.
Which is
Which
fine,
also
but-
has a lot of, where did that go? That has a lot
I
to
was
rec-
thinking about that.
Oh, sorry.
We have these
Oh.
drawings by Weirdo. I was kind of a little bit reminded.
Mhm.
But
Oh.
this isn't only one of them. We have a set of 10, I think, of these original Weird
Mm.
Schultz drawings.
That's gorgeous.
It's so beautifully done. The proportions of these
Mm.
rooms are so special. And what's interesting about, this is the biggest one. It's not the chicest. Is the one thing I'm having a little trouble with is that L. But I don't know, what do you feel about L's?
Well, the reason I like the idea of the house defining space.
Mhm.
And so if the house can define this terrace area here, and maybe it could be further defined with landscaping around the terrace, I think that this could be, you know, a
Mhm.
really, really great space. And that's really, really what I was after with the L.
Can I ask you a question? That you've got the chimney we were talking about with Sally Spooner's house, the one that, it's the
Tuckerman number.
Tuckerman number one. Yeah. If
Right,
you,
right, this-
if you go back and look at just some of the brickwork, now, I know love or money, it's very hard to achieve some of that. But I was just wondering, because you're very proudly showcasing this chimney. And it would be the difference, like, you see, yeah, so even without going that crazy, I mean, that's really, or look at the chimney of Christopher's, for example. I mean, you know, which does something even more sculptural, but with greater simplicity. But, you know, when you're really playing up the chimney, it would be nice to have it not just be a face of brick, like just if there's a way to add a little bit of element, or
Okay.
whether it's
At the top, there's
some of those.
probably at the top with a stone cap.
Very nice.
Um,
I wonder if there isn't some
Like,
opportunity to do even like a band,
Two.
one or two bands or something.
or maybe incorporate stone the way you were
Or,
talking about.
or,
Yeah.
oh my God, even better, to incorporate, yeah.
I think John might like that.
So that, the other thing is
I think
that,
that's done here.
Oh, that's meant to be the flashing.
Oh, that's not stone.
No, this is like metal, the wall
Oh, I
flashing
see.
here, yeah.
it's so handsome. So I feel like all of these different colors, where's there's one more color, is it right below you?
Yeah, I'm not sure I like.
So I feel like the answer is somewhere between all of these. Part of the reason I think this is a little bit Pepto-Bismol, but the lower, I guess it's coexisting a little bit less unhappily with this. Right now, this is so dark and engaging that then this seems insipid.
Yeah.
This of all the three to me feels like the farthest along as it is.
Mhm.
One last thing, but I think the long and short of it is that the second thoughts that you had and your client had feel spot on.
Okay.
And they totally answer to what Christopher had first been thinking, which
Yes.
is like you want something more, and that's where you were.
That's fabulous.
I also
Yeah.
think bluestone's very dangerous in terms of sourcing. Inevitably, again, not even in a ring suburb, but like McMansion.
Mhm.
It's very hard to get good bluestone that's not too pure, too smooth, too insipid. And for this house, I mean, you can do a lot with granite, and there are many, many cuts and finishes of granite. I think that would be a much more interesting, particularly if you're trying to suggest it's coming out of this
Right.
landscape. And nobody uses granite, and I don't understand why. It's actually cheaper.
I did use granite,
For paving, I mean,
yeah, the front porch on East Lake, I did some years ago.
East Lake, East Lake, East Lake.
Judith Novacek, just a front porch. It's,
Oh, right.
forgetting the address.
It's,
We did granite
Red
paving
coated
there.
copper or the.
Yeah, yeah,
It's before you on the left, before Shoshikibai. Just
Oh,
below there.
yes.
On
You mean,
left.
you mean the
You
white
can
one
just
that's sort of
black
down
one.
below?
Yes.
Oh,
They did the front entrance.
right. Right. Well, that's nice. that these-
We did granite paving there.
It also is, it's a little less slippery. Just again, it depends on how you finish it, but just a thought. Especially if you're gonna have a huge expanse of it. Do you know
Right,
what I mean,
right.
what I hate is when bluestone fits so tightly because it's so sharply cut and then it's not really a seam. And it ends up looking like it might as well just be asphalt.
Right.
Oh, talking of asphalt, the driveway, if it is asphalt, chip and dip, what's it called?
Chip seal.
Yeah, with the stones, yeah.
Is that something he's thinking of? Or
I don't know, we haven't really talked about it. We do have to engage a landscape architect. Maybe we should talk a little bit about it now.
that would look so great for the spell that you're casting of forest stuff.
So,
The spell, that's the word. This has to cast a spell. And because it's not just this one house, it's for Mr. Overton to help sell the other houses and properties, I'm sure. So if this is like the best thing since sliced bread, and that we're all excited and talking about it, like, well, where do you live? Oh, I live up in the Overton Woods. It's got to be that, addition to Tuxedo Park. It's to say, it's the next book.
so for site lighting, I was thinking just real minimal, kind of full cutoff fixtures, just kind of, there'll be porch fixtures, which will
You
naturally.
turn them on if you need them, otherwise they're not right.
Yeah, and into kind of minimal lighting illuminating the driveway, but just kind of like close to the driveway, just little pools of light on the driveway. As far as the entrance to the site, I was thinking it doesn't really need anything. It doesn't need a gate. It doesn't
No.
need pillars or anything like
Two
that. Just kind of
boulders,
Not even.
Not even. ferns,
A mailbox.
a mailbox.
And we could talk about the mailbox. I don't know what, it's just something simple.
I'm not sure, I'm not sure whether you can get a mailbox. I think nowadays the post office is saying, unless you have one grandfathered, you have to get a PO box.
Oh, is that right?
I think so.
Oh.
If in a certain radius of the post office, you cannot get a mailbox anymore. I may be,
Hmm.
so that,
I'll-
you may be outside that radius, but
No.
that's what somebody said.
Let's hope we have a post office.
No,
What with
I believe,
DeJoy.
I believe there was a comment. Did you have thoughts about the driveway?
Well, I'm of so many minds. So we talked about this, Jeff, a little bit, and John will scream, let alone Joanne or anyone on the planning board. But, I was on the planning board and we were talking about all this, but they put the roundabout, the turnaround on the slope, like when it wants to be just a little bit higher up where it levels. And where there's so many fewer trees that, right, where they have placed it, you're gonna have to leave this gigantic 100-foot tulip. It's right in the middle of the turnaround.
So
I don't know what
at
they
our
were
site
thinking.
visit, yesterday,
It's
To
just,
the neighbors.
we were thinking that maybe it needs to go uphill just ever so slightly, maybe even like 20, 30 feet or something.
20 feet.
Because it's flat, there's a flat spot,
Mhm.
whereas where it's drawn now, it's like there has to be a fair degree of kind of cutting and filling.
Right.
And then there's the trees.
Well, there are a couple other issues that really have to be sorted. Mr. Overton rejuvenated the road that goes up to the park school beyond this turnabout. So if that road can be continued, then the turnabout is really no longer needed.
I see.
That was the original reason for the turnaround, because it was a dead
Well,
end.
that's even better.
Oh, so that road was kind of rediscovered?
That
kind of?
road
Right.
was in place, 100 years ago, and Overton, the landscaper, opened it up. which really wasn't on the original site plan, but it was part of the original road. So if we can determine where Overton wants to end that road, and I don't know if it's going to end on the Park School property or what have you,
Okay.
but if we have some agreement to maintain that, then the turnaround is no longer
Right now, it
needed.
kind of ends, well, there's branches a little bit, and then the farther one ends at the school.
Yeah, so if that could be, if there's some decision can come there, then we don't need the turnaround, and
That
maybe
would
we
be
can do all
so
that.
much Better.
Maybe we can do all that when you go back to the planning board to discuss the construction sequence.
Right. So the way I was thinking about this is, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, there are certain items which are meant to benefit not just this property, but all, kind of surrounding property. So the road improvements, the site utilities, that kind of thing. So that probably needs to be done by kind of like a separate entity, a neighborhood association or something. John will probably have to form some kind of entity that would be separate from Lot 7. I'm assuming.
Mhm.
This is something we're gonna need to talk about.
I think we have to
And
talk about it at the planning board level,
Yeah.
because there were assurances that certain utility improvements would be made, obviously, before development.
Exactly. So that, I'm thinking that would be kind of a separate permit, separate from Lot 7. But have to be done first.
Sure.
So, and probably will have to come before you guys, but. sort
Well, I
of
mean,
in
the
parallel.
infrastructure stuff would all go before the planning board.
Oh,
And everybody was in agreement that it all Lot 7 before Lot 2.
right.
Then they can amend the subdivision approval at the planning board level, which would at least give you authority to come back here to discuss architecture. And also, if you needed a variance, I would refer you to the BZA. But right now, this is kind of preliminary, but obviously in good form.
So what I was hoping to accomplish today was I wanted to kind of gauge your comfort level about the kind of the basic concept, the basic idea. I'd like to nail down the footprint of the house and its basic massing. So that we could kind of proceed to the more technical stuff for the planning board, and so that we can go to the BZA to ask for the porch variance. So if you think the wraparound porch is a good idea, if you're comfortable with the footprint and basic massing of the house.
Yeah, I love the porch, wrapping around a porch to make it, because it's so accessible. As you said, we're on the same, I think we're on this very much the same wavelength. The terrace is too big, so we'll, reduce that.
Yeah.
And respect, the environment from the house, that, there it is, it's already done for you, it's beautiful, and embellish that if necessary. If you have to do the screening from the school, to use American holly here, there, and not just a line of the
Or
western
a mix
cedar.
of things
A mix, yeah.
A, B, C, A, B, or A, B, yeah.
Yeah, all of that. So it's just like Bruce Price, who created Tuxedo Park, respected that landscape, and you're embracing that, and you're not changing it into some manicured suburban plot. That's my main concern. But I think the hiding of the garage and that sort of thing, all these modern necessary things that weren't around when Mr. Price was around, I think you've done very well. So for me, I have a great comfort factor in the direction you're going, and I'm just hoping you can push it even further, because you have this exceptional opportunity to create something that is just going to be the best thing that's happened to Tuxedo Park.
I also think you should give John, even if she's not asking for it, a few more iterations, like be playful and come up with 10 different things. And because this is so close, and I'm not sure any one of them is right there, but it's,
Yeah, we do have a lot of work to do, but I'm happy to think that we're at a good starting place,
yeah.
and that if we kind of maybe pursue this half timbering idea, we can develop it and I think work on some of the details, maybe work on the palette a little bit more, and we can get to a place where we're all gonna be thrilled.
I would definitely present it with actual samples of it.
Oh, actually.
But, it's so difficult to know what this is.
You know what,
gonna be
it's
like,
funny,
you know,
so
with
the-
structure and texture. I think
Yeah,
it
and the,
might be easier for
the printout is one thing. It looks a different way on my iPad, a different way on my
I know.
computer. It's for sure, yeah, yeah. No, we'll definitely have actual
It's
samples.
really exciting, Jeff. I mean, it's just like one of the most exciting, fulfilling, promising applications
yeah, no,
I've
it's-
seen.
It's dreaming and it's fabulous that it comes from a historic precedent that John's family was so important in Tuxedo Park. And he's burnishing the legacy. So, you know, he had big footprints to follow. And so do you with this. So yeah, let's make this, the toast of the town.
Mhm.
Great.
Well done.
One quick question, one quick thing, Christopher, for the roofing material, let me just backtrack just on that. You thought that this maybe should be darker? Was that what you were thinking?
More heterogeneous so that it's not so like you were saying, there's bits of red there and,
Yes.
so it's in the same way you showed the shingle of St. Mary's that had. it was
There's
like
more
black
variety.
and brown and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
If you're
variety.
buying from this Polish company, they can do many batches, can't they? Can't they
Uh-huh,
color?
Maybe, well, this is actually a cement tile from a different company.
Oh.
Probably a less expensive material than the.
Is it something you order? Is it bespoke or is it?
No, I don't think
Oh,
so.
okay.
Um,
Well, even if they have several options and you could, I wonder how you could get some of that effect that Christopher's talking about.
yeah,
And if it were a little darker and a little more varied and
I'm intrigued with these cement tiles. I mean, do they hold moss safely? Because that would be amazing to have.
Yeah.
a
well,
mossy
those
roof.
clay tile, the Ludovici roofs are famous for that. I've worked on a project where the roofing contractor literally was painting yogurt on the roof, so. that-
Oh, to encourage it, yeah.
But
how great.
I'm not sure that, the clay tile has a material warranty of like 100 years or something ridiculous. Clay tile is much less durable. So I wouldn't maybe want moss on the clay tile,
Right, right.
but it's certainly more durable than asphalt.
They offer 40 different clay tile roofing profiles.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, Ludovici, yes, yeah, a million, yeah, they're a great company. But, there's a ton of clay, there's a ton of cement, roofing materials out there. If something like the Ludovici roof is too pricey, this might be an option just to find something. I think with, a green and the red probably don't go well. But as you say, a roof that has kind of like a modeling or kind of a little bit more texture, not a sort of uniform. Okay.
John, is out of our purview, but it's near the ridge line. The height of the house is fine, or is?
I will double check, but I'm not aware of any of those properties necessarily being on the ridge line, but I'll double check it.
I don't think it's on the map, the original map.
Okay.
There's
I don't think it is. I will double check it before we go too much further. But I also think we wouldn't have approved that 250-foot square as far as the envelope if it was on the original.
Oh, right.
But I'll double check it tomorrow.
And we've made kind of every effort to keep the house fairly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is great, yeah. It's,
Well, I'm very excited about the concept of the tree, the house within the trees. I think that's just so wonderful. It's so different from
I also-
others. You cannot buy those trees ever.
Mhm.
The founders of this park, I think in one case, imported
Oh,
a
right.
linden, probably 100-year-old
Yeah.
linden.
It was
tree,
100 when they brought it. You can
Yes.
see. Because we looked at it,
But
it's like,
that
it's
is
a
such
200-year
vast
linear. I was like,
expense.
how is this
So, you know, that's how they appreciated old trees and
Yeah.
you have them. So it's really wonderful that you're going to work with them.
Well, you know,
Thank
used
you
to
for
go
that.
drive around and go through New Jersey and point at trees, say that tree, that tree, that tree, a mature tree is to be brought to the property was Mrs. Blair.
Oh, how
Yeah,
interesting.
she had hundreds of trees, mature
That's
trees brought to
Wow.
the property.
Okay.
So let's keep that rocking
Yeah.
and rolling.
And Jeff, what
Thank
you
you.
said about, you know, as you come up, there's sort of a circle in the driveway and you said you'd like to see trees even there. I think that,
Oh,
that was
absolutely.
music to my ears. I mean, that, I think that will make this feel,
Yes.
that one
Oh,
detail.
magic.
Yeah. Do you know the Nike track at the University of Oregon? And it's, you know, it's picture a running track at your local high school, but instead of a football field in the middle, it's a forest.
Oh, wow.
Oh, fabulous.
Oh,
What
wow.
And
genius
so like
made that.
these world-class athletes are like, because, you know, Nike. of
Breathing the
course,
best
is-
oxygen
That's
nature
true.
can buy.
That's
But it's so
fabulous.
cool to like, to watch them sort of turn the corner, you know,
That's
out of
wonderful.
nowhere. It's so
That's-
cool.
that's-
Yeah.
Love that.
That's so cool.
That's.
So, you know, I think we,
Thank
you know,
you
we could
for
do
that.
something.
Thank you for that good news.
Yeah, no, that's-
We need some good news
I
these
know.
days.
yeah, no, and this is so respectful.
Oh.
You know, I mean, I know you have to chop down trees to, you know, that's always very sad. But above and beyond that, yeah, respecting the others is great. So no, you love it. Thank you. This is food. Sorry, Mr. Overton, but join us and share the excitement because we're equally as excited about it as he is.
You guys want?
No.
No. Okay.
Keep them all.
More useful.
Well, you know, if there's a duplicate of one of them, it's,
They're all,
oh, well, I'd love to keep these two.
Sure.
That way, if someone's sort of
Okay.
wanting ideas.
Yes.
We
Great.
can say,
Oh,
we
yeah.
love this sort of thing.
Mhm.
We love this sort of thing. I almost got arrested out in Berlin, out in Dahlem, is in that neighborhood.
Why?
There was a green tiled roof that I loved. So I went to the garden to take pictures.
Oh my God.
Naughty.
Das ist los!
Yeah,
Great.
that-
Do have
Great,
minutes?
Christopher, if,
Yes.
are those going to go with you or will they be, I'd love to be able to see some of those.
Oh, I'll keep them here with John and then that way
Okay.
you can see them.
Okay, great, because I'll
Are
swing
there-
by.
It's just these two. Are there any others you wanted to see
I
or?
could leave behind,
You don't mind, Jeffrey, I'll scan them, I'll scan them and circulate them to the bar. If you can just leave
That's-
one to each,
that's
I can email
fine.
you, I have electronic versions of
Okay.
this. I can,
whatever you like.
yeah, I'll email that.
We're just,
email them
yeah,
to you.
email some PDFs and be great to see
I think,
them.
yeah, that's what he'll do.
So the, what I'll do is I'll email you guys these drawings. These are all out of order, but so these are kind of like an alternate version of what I've already
Right,
submitted.
right.
Mhm.
I don't know if you're interested in the Masson.
No, these ones.
No, no,
these-
that's much-
yeah,
that's
this is-
much
this is
better.
great. These are immediately visible
Yes, yes.
to get the people,
Yeah.
the sense of across.
Great, and I'll send John the PDFs of all this stuff and you guys can keep what you want or not.
So will that be fine, Julie, to get the PDF or do you want to see this?
No, that's fine. And
Okay,
if there's a couple of copies there, I'll just swing by and look at them.
well, I'll
Okay.
leave these here then and then we'll,
Okay.
yeah. And then
Thank
we can use them to we have minutes.
Just didn't want to be rude and. So,
Such a migraine.
oh
If
no,
I look
okay.
pained,
You have a migraine?
if I look pained, it's not because of.
Oh, Christopher, do you have something to take?
Yeah, I just did. No, I just such a big, yeah, the need properly.
Oh.
Sorry.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you
Yeah.
for your explanation and everything.
Yeah, no.
So we'll hope to make those appointments at whenever convenient
Oh,
for
yeah,
the
yeah,
other
yeah.
bar members to see
Absolutely.
those.
Yeah.
I hope
Thank
you
you.
design all 6 or 7 of the other houses here in this development.
Each,
Thank you.
Yeah, just,
8 in total or 9?
I think there's
9, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll do them all. Don't hurt the rattlesnake.
no.
Thank you.
Just clear the site, before Stephanie goes. This is,
So, if everyone's okay, we can now, proceed to the approval of the minutes, from the bar meeting of January the 6th. Has everyone had a chance to read those? So I'd like to make a motion to,
No.
approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, so I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting for today.
Agree.
Thank you.
Aye. Aye, Captain.
Thank you.
Meeting was adjourned at
Good night.
7:37.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night, Julie. Good night, Desiree.
Good night. Good night.
See you soon.
Good night, Mary.